Alrighty, hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video of Man Plays Incel Game and Talks About. So, for this video, I wanted to talk about something that happened to me when I was at work yesterday. Um, so, for context, I work at Staples, and so Staples has a service where, we have like self-serve printers. So a person would be able to come in and basically just use our printer. I have to turn down my volume. Like, we have printers that you're able to just sort of come in, put your card in the printer, and then use it, right? And there are a lot of people that use the service, specifically people that don't have their own printers. So that already sort of limits it to a certain subsection of people. But there are a lot of people that come in and they say, hey, I need help with your self-serve printers. I'm not really good with my phone. I'm not really good with technology. And I have a really important document that I need to print. And so I am 18 years old. Like, I'm just a teenager. I've never needed to, the most important document I've ever filled out is, my taxes. And even at that, my parents were helping me. But I get these people that come in and they're like, I need a proof of income for this document or my house is going to get repossessed. And huge things like that. And they're just like, I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And so I have to sort of figure out how to, access this information. Like, if you need proof of income, you could usually get that from your banking app. But I didn't know that, because why would I know that? I've never actually gone through that myself. So that is one of the more stressful parts about my job, when I have to help, okay, rewinding. I'm not trying to make this about me. This is just like a societal commentary, honestly. Because there are so many people that come into Staples and they say, hey, I need help printing this because I hardly know what an email is, and I need to print out this document. And they say that because the way that we do it is you have to email your document to, it's like a general email for Staples. It sends you back a code. You put that code in the printer and they're like, whoa, that's too much. I don't know how to do that. Which is, to me, it seems like it's incredibly easy, but that's because I'm a part of Gen Z and I grew up with the internet and I want to go into computer science. So to me, who has always been in a society that just sort of revolves around that, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard. But I understand that for someone that grew up without technology, especially people that are older, would have a hard time. I barely know what an email is. I have to send it to this. I have to get a code. Where do I put it? How do I use this machine? This is big and unfamiliar. And when you actually get to it, the UI, the user interface is it's not that hard. It's very simplistic and easy to understand, but they don't even see what it looks like. They just say, I need to do stuff with technology on a machine I've never done that with before. I think I'm going to need help. And then they ask for help and we sort of guide them through it. And in theory, the help is supposed to be, how the machine works. But I've had a lot of customers just say, I don't know how to fill out this form. I really need help filling out this form. My house is going to get repossessed. And the amount of elderly customers that this has happened to is appalling. It's not a lot of the focus on when people say the economy is bad, it's mostly focused on young people. So Gen Z and millennials, that say we're not making as much as our parents were at this age, and the economy is specifically hostile to younger people, and the boomers had it made and they've got they're hoarding all the wealth and they have everything. And just kind of need to remember that not every boomer is rich. Not to minimize the struggles that the younger generation is going through. Obviously, I'm a part of that, and I've already made a video on how I am extremely concerned for my future, because I feel like this economy is going in a way that I am not going to be able to survive, basically, that I'm going to have a hard time getting a job and then I'm not going to be able to survive, and I don't know what to do about that as someone about to go into college. Like, I don't want to say that that's not true and that's not an issue, but I do also want to say that, like, there are some older people that are also struggling, because when the economy isn't doing well, like, so a lot of boomers and old people, whatever, a lot of them had savings before everything kind of died. Like, a lot of them have been building wealth for their entire lives, and it's great for them, you know? But then there's also some of them that haven't. There are some of them that have been, like, working paycheck to paycheck, like they are just working class people, and they have been just, like, absolute working class people that never got to really experience that American dream for their entire lives. And now that the economy is getting harsher and worse, they are also struggling. Like, it's not just like they'll come in and they won't know how to use a phone, because when you get to a certain age, it's really hard to just learn new things. So I get like these 70 or 80 or even 90-year-olds. A lot of the time they will tell me their age, because this is also a generation that is more prone to being, like, very open and friendly with strangers. So, like, they'll come in, they'll be like, my name is this, my age is this, I don't know how to use my phone, this is, like, my entire backstory, basically. Like, people will tell me a lot about themselves. And I don't, like, they don't know how to use their phones. They're not making enough money to get by, and they're just like, I don't know how to not get my house repossessed. Like, this one specific customer that I had a couple months ago that I still haven't forgotten was, her husband died, he was the one that was making most of the income, and he was the one that always sort of handled the, like, legal matters, and now her home was going to get repossessed because the government doesn't care about the elderly people that have been working for, like, I mean, like, I guess, like, she said that she hadn't really been working, or she hadn't worked in a long time, she retired a long time ago, and her husband had continued working to keep the house. But, like, you're not gonna, like, you're really gonna repossess her house? Like, the bank is going to repossess her house and not, like, there's no systems in place to make sure that elderly people who are at a point in their lives where they, like, are genuinely unable to work anymore don't have guaranteed housing. I feel like that's just cruel. Like, and she isn't the only story that I can remember from that. Like, I remember her telling me that she was, like, in her 80s. It was, like, 84 or something like that. You want an 84-year-old to work? Do you want a homeless 84-year-old? Like, I don't... Oh, uh-oh. My computer's lagging because I forgot to... But, like, I don't understand how you can, like, justify, like... Sorry, this is unprofessional and embarrassing, but I need to put that on. But, like, I feel like even if you're, like, you know, a hardcore right-wing extremist, you need to work for everything that you have. I just can't even imagine saying, like, the elderly people in our society just deserve to live on the street or die if they can't afford a house, if they haven't saved up enough throughout their life to be able to afford housing through their 80s. They should just die about it. They should just live on the street about it. Like, that's so... I don't think anyone is saying that. And it's something that I'm not sure if everyone is even, like, aware of it, because I don't think I would have been if I didn't work this job, if I didn't have to actively help people, like, avoid homelessness on, like, not, it doesn't happen that often, but it happens often enough that, like, I don't think I could count it on one hand, you know, and I work part-time. Like, I'm not seeing all of it, you know, that isn't even my department. It's just things that I get called in because, like, the print and marketing department is busy. Hey, can you help this person at self-serve? They have a longer request. Okay, sure, I'll help. Oh, your house is getting repossessed. You need me to help you fill out this form because you're going to be homeless if I don't fill out this form. Okay, cool. You know, like, that's... And again, most of them are, it's because, like, they need help because they're tech illiterate, because they are, like, in their 70s or 80s. And at that point, they're not really able to work like most other people. And I'm just so, like, appalled at the United States government that there aren't, like, there's social security programs, but the fact that that isn't enough right now, because these people are all, like, honest people. No one is, like, coming in with, like, you know, designer handbags, or, like, you know, they're not, like, living lavishly off their social security checks, and that's why they can't afford their house. Like, it's just that it's not enough, because I could be wrong about this because I haven't looked too far into it, but I'm pretty sure that Social Security is dependent on how much you made during your working years. So if you're someone like the older woman I helped, she was an old lady. She was like 80 something years old. I'm not going to call her an older woman. She was an old lady. Like, if you're someone that grew up in a generation where, like, for the most part, it was just the man working, and so she didn't have all that much working experience, so she didn't have, like, the fact that she's not getting enough money because she didn't work a lot, because in her working years the economy was so much significantly better that she didn't need to, and she didn't anticipate the economy turning out the way that it did. She didn't anticipate that things would get so much unbelievably worse over the course of her lifetime, so she didn't think that she would need to save for her 80s. She just thought that the government would probably take care of it, or she would have enough money, like, I don't know, like, that's not... At that point, you should just be guaranteed housing, and I don't think that that's an extremist take. Sure, like, saying guaranteed housing for all people is technically an extremist take, and that's also something that I believe. But, like, that's not, you know, financially possible or whatever. Like, we don't have the funds for that. Like, there's talking points against that where, like, you know, if a person that can work doesn't work, I still think, why should they be able to live is a crazy thing to say. But, like, at least you have some, like, well, no work is going to get done if all the able-bodied and smart people aren't working, and, like, all of the whatever. But the thing is, when you're saying that, like, oh, you didn't save for when you're 84 years old and your husband died and your Social Security ran out, oh well, you gotta be homeless and die then. Like, the fact that that is how our government is operating, the fact that I have seen this several times, and I've had to help several people with that, and, like, again, I'm trying not to make this about me, but I am 18 years old. Like, that's kind of stressful for me, and it's stressful for, like, that... It's stressful for that to get put onto me, and it sucks that there aren't really... Like, there are resources if you're tech literate and you can look up, how do I get around this? How do I, like, I don't, like, if you look into it, I'm sure there are ways to, like, or there are people online explaining how to fill out the form. But if you don't even have a smartphone, and you hardly know how to use a computer because you're, like, 80 something years old and, like, you never really needed to, then it's just, like, it just sucks that there isn't more, like, that the government can just kind of say, or I guess it's not the government repossessing the house, it's a bank, but it sucks that the government doesn't step in it sucks that the bank just kind of can repossess their house, and if they don't know how to fill out the form to like proof of income and like I don't remember exactly everything that we did because the specific customer was months ago, but like I um like I don't I don't know. I don't understand how you can just say, okay, fill out this form that you at 84 years old will most likely not know how to fill out, and if you don't, you're homeless. You know? Like, that's horrible that's just how, that's how this works. That is actually something that's actively happening. And kind of similar, so the specific thing that I ran into yesterday was not as upsetting of a story. It was just someone that was like she couldn't afford to live in the one house anymore, so she had to move to another one. So her house was getting like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just like she had to move, and she'd already like she was trying to get into the new property, and she didn't know how to print out the forms to like start renting this new place. And that's what I needed to help her with. And she came in and she was like, I haven't been able to figure out how to do this. No one that I've called has been able to help. I need to get it done by today or I can't move into this house. And again, if you can't move into that house right then, you're homeless. You're homeless. You are like, you're at a point in your life where it's hard to work, that it's hard to like, like when you get to a certain age, like being homeless just kills you because you can't like, because you can't just be like out in the elements like that. That's just like you can't live out of your car when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s. That's not, like that's not, you can't do that. Your body will just fail. Like when you're younger, it's still rough. Like before that, it's still not something that anyone should have to go through. But especially when you're older, your body just straight up can't take that. Like you will die. And the fact that life is paywalled at this point, basically, is so like, it's so dystopian for the companies and the government to just get away with that, for the banks to get away with that, for the community around this older person that is going to be homeless to get away with that. The fact that like we as a society, all of us, the fact that every single person isn't making sure that the people in their community aren't dying is just horrible. Like I don't even have words for it. Because I have had to help several of these people who I've never met before in my entire life not be homeless. And that's my job, and I get paid $12 an hour for it. Which is not a livable wage, which is if I was trying to survive on that, I would also be in their position and be homeless, but I have my parents to like, my parents still pay for my stuff. I live with my parents, you know? Like, it just, I don't know. It just sucks that like, that's the society that we live in, that we don't, like, not to literally we live in a society, but like, you serious? Come on. Like, I'm trying to understand where people are coming from and being like, okay, well, like, you have to work for what you get. And like, again, I understand that to an extent, but there are some people that are unable to work, and that doesn't mean that they deserve to die. And I also don't think that they should be relying on some 18-year-old working a, like, not quite minimum wage job, but, you know, kind of close to it, which is, it is absolutely not in the job description and not something that I'm qualified to do. Like, I shouldn't be the one helping these people. there should be better programs in place. There should be someone else to go to. And I'm sure that there is, but the fact that it's happened so many times that I have been the person that they've had to go to, the fact that like the fact that I have, the fact that it has been my job at 18 years old, and even when I was 17, to help probably like, I don't think I could count the number of people on a single hand. It's gotten to the point where I've lost track of how many people I have helped not be straight up homeless, or with like an important bill, or like to help get like disability stuff, you know, like they couldn't figure out how to fill it out on their own because it's not user friendly. Because the only reason that I really knew how to do it is because I consume finance content a lot. I watch a lot of video essays on finance stuff and how like filling out forms works, and I'm more used to filling out stuff like that because I've been in school. That people who are older and not tech literate, and they don't really know how to like look things up efficiently, and they don't know how to like, they need to just go to a person about it. The fact that there are so few like proper places to go to about it, that Staples is your pick, that like you can't, that there aren't like designated agencies for like, hey, if you're going to become homeless and you are a senior and you can't like, you can't work anymore because like that's not really possible for you, like I feel like there should be like some sort of system in place to like, I don't know, there should be someone very clear to go to. Because the fact that like, not even the fact that I'm the person, just the fact that I have been the person for so many people that I was their first thought, or that maybe I wasn't even their first thought, but whoever was their first thought couldn't help them, you know? And like, I guess they don't assume it to be an 18-year-old that's working at Staples. I guess they assume it to be someone older and like, you know, that would know more about that kind of thing. But Staples doesn't have like legal people. Staples just prints out your documents. Like, the closest thing that we have is passport pictures. And even at that, it's just the pictures. You can't submit your passport to us. Like, there is nothing about Staples that says we can help you with legal documents, but it's something that a lot of people assume anyway, because there are so few proper places to help with legal documents that, like, apparently Staples is, like, one of the first thoughts for a lot of people. And that's not right. Like, not only should they not be in this situation in the first place, not only is it, like, cruel and inhumane to say, you are 84 years old, well, how much money do you have? If you don't have money, if you can't contribute to the society, die. Die on the street. The fact that, like, not only is it so inhumane to be at that point, but, like, not only are we at that point, it's hard for them to actually figure out how to get out of that point, because everything is structured digitally. Everything is, like, you need to fill this out online. You need to understand how to, like, fill out a document and scan that document and sign it, and, like, your proof of income, which is online, usually through a banking app. Like, the fact that I've had to pick these things up and learn this, like, just because I've needed to help so many people with it, is, like, it's just, like, absurd that I've had to learn it, and it's been really hard for me to learn, and I need to designate, like, usually 30 minutes to an hour of my shift, where, like, that's not supposed to be my job, but this is so much, like extremely more important than stocking the shelves at a Staples, that, like, I don't, let's go, that, like, I'm going to designate the time to it regardless. Like, but the fact that I, as someone who is extremely tech literate, I, as someone who wants to go into computer science, who has specifically studied this kind of stuff just as a personal, like, because I've wanted to, the fact that it still takes me almost an hour to figure out how to do this, to print out all the documents, to say, okay, how can we go about scanning this? How do I get a proof of income? Because it's not stated anywhere. It's not like, it's hard to figure out how to do that kind of stuff if you've never done it before. And here's the thing, I'm 18 years old. Yeah, sure, maybe like I'm not supposed to have done it before, and these people that are older are supposed to have done it before. But I feel like most people haven't, like, had their house repossessed before, you know? Like, most people haven't actually genuinely faced the threat of homelessness before, you know? Like, that's not something that anyone has really, like, I mean, it's something that unfortunately some people have done before, but, like, I don't think it's really fair to say, you're 84 years old and facing homelessness. Well, at some point in those 84 years, you must have faced something like this before and know how to fill out the document. No, you don't? Well, let's instead give you the instructions or how to do it, or even put the entire thing on a website on your phone, your iPhone. Yeah, the thing that was made in the last, like, 20... Oh, you were, like, 60 when the iPhone came out? Oh, well, you should have learned. You know, like, that's absurd to expect that of someone. And it's stupid that that's where we're, like... that's where we are. That's, like, what is actually happening. That, like... that, like... I don't even know. I'm, like, at a loss. I'm, like, I want to get that item, though. That, like, that things are so rigged against everyone that doesn't have a lot of money. It's not just rigged against young people, which is mostly what's, like, being, put out there. And not to say that, like, this is, like, censorship and whatever, and not to say that, like, this is, something that's happening to all boomers, that we should pity them, because don't get me wrong, it is the greedy boomers that have worked for their entire lives that are saying, oh, the economy isn't that bad, you just gotta go and give the person a firm handshake and it'll all work itself out and you'll be able to get that job. Like, it is those people that are running the government, it is those people that are so out of touch with reality. But I think it's important to say that, like, it's the ones with money that are making everything bad, and there are some that are struggling as well, and everyone that is struggling with money is struggling under this system. Like, it's not just young people, and here's the thing, is, like, yeah, you could say, like, well, it's less fair for young people because these older people had, like, their entire lives of, like, things being great, and, like, I don't know, like, sure. Like, they had their entire lives of everything, like, working out well for them, and, like, now they're just... I don't know, like, I feel like you could argue, like, they had the American dream for most of their lives, so it's not as bad for them because... Like, it's not as bad for them that they're just not having the American dream. My hair looks so bad right now. I'm so sorry. That they're not having the American dream at the end of their lives because they got to experience it for most of it. And that the younger people have it worse because they never even got to experience it. They never got to experience that excess and luxury and, like, you know, single income households and whatever. But, like, even if you got to experience it earlier in your life, even if, like, it's something that, even if, like, I'm sorry, I know I'm in the middle of something important, but I need to lock in and make my hair not look like, it's still not, whatever, who cares, people are dying, people are homeless, who cares what my hair looks like. Okay, but it's even if you got to experience a life of luxury, the threat of being homeless and not having a job and not having money and not being able to survive is still a very real threat, and no one deserves to die and no one deserves to suffer based on, I mean, that's at least how I operate. Like, I understand if you say, well, some people have been like a undeniable bad to society and people have killed people and people, whatever. But as a rule of thumb, like, for the most part, I operate under the philosophy of no one deserves to suffer, period. No one deserves to suffer. That, like, consequences of your actions, yeah. But unnecessary suffering, I guess. But even that feels like a slippery slope. I just, like, I don't think that anyone should not be able to survive. I think that's, like, a good summary of it. I think that no one should be homeless, and no one should not be, like, no one should be homeless, no one should not be able to afford food, no one should be, like, wondering if they are going to survive the next X amount of time because of the way that the economy is going. That's just, like, not a society that cares for its people that little that, like, the elderly that can no longer work because they have worked for 60, 70 years and they can't do it into their 80s, like, still don't have enough money to survive, so they just get evicted from their homes. Like, that, a society that allows that to happen, something is wrong. Because I feel like even if you make all of the worst decisions, even if you waste all of your money, that you should still be able to survive. Especially when you are at a point where you can't work anymore and you don't really have a choice. If you are 80 years old, if you are in your 80s, it is not a viable option for you anymore to, like, go get a job to be able to continue the upkeep of your house that you have had for however many decades. You know? Like, that's not... The fact that that's still being expected of people. Or the fact that, like, it's so... I don't want to say, like, easy to get, like, your home repossessed. But, like, the fact that that just happens and that you have to go through... Like, I saw the process of needing to, like, apply to lease or to rent a new home, and it's so complicated. And the fact that you can be given, like, sure, you're given warning before your home is repossessed, but, like, the fact that it is so hard to get to, like, buy or rent or, like, just find any new place to live right now, and that you're still expected to, like, go through all of the, like, it's a crazy amount of paperwork. It costed, like, the entire, just, like, everything being printed out. Look, Staples is overpriced, don't get me wrong. It was, like, 50 cents a page, which is stupid for a black and white document. Are you serious? But that's what Staples charges. Or for, whatever, not relevant. I don't think most of you are taking the prices from me. But the fact that, like, it costs, like, 50 cents a page for, like, each piece of paper. And the specific customer that I was helping a couple days ago, was, like, using one of our computers, so it charged a little bit per the usage of the computer. It costed her $50 just to print out all of the documents that she needed to, like, get a house. Like, to rent, like, not even a house probably, to rent somewhere so that she wouldn't be homeless. $50 to, and look, I know $50 isn't, like, an absurd sum of money, but the fact that you have to make sure that you have enough money to afford to rent or lease, or I don't exactly remember what it was in the first place. And then on top of that, you need to go through all of the paperwork of it, which is extremely, like, complicated and convoluted and, like, weird to understand. And on top of that, like, you need to either have a printer, which it's kind of hard to have a printer when you're like kicked out of your house, you know? Or if you're at the point of having your house repossessed, I'm not assuming that you have the extra, you know, couple $100s to drop on a printer. So you have to go out and get your stuff printed. And then on top of that, you know, it's a nice $50 to print out all of the documents that you need. Because you need to print out these documents and scan them. And she said she was going to scan them because you can scan them with your phone and it's not as professional. If she had actually opted for scanning it on a proper scanner, it would have costed probably $75 for that whole ordeal. And again, not to say that that's like an absurd and unpayable sum of money, but if you're at a point in your life where your house is getting repossessed, if you're at a point in your life where you can't afford to live anymore, that like any money is a lot of money. And the fact that this isn't like, I don't know, that you need to print out these documents yourself, that it's not something that's just given to you. Like, or it's something that's given to you digitally. But even then, like, it's something that's given to you digitally, but you have to print it out. Just send the physical documents. Just, like, please make it a little bit easier for especially these older people that, like, that have a hard time, like, keeping up with new technology, that, like, that can't work like they used to be able to. If you're a young person, I know that everything sucks, because I'm there too. I know that everything is so expensive and you can't, like, it's hard to afford anything, and, like, it's hard to even get your foot in the door with a house, like, let alone be kicked out of one. Just to say, like, the fact that you would even be able to get a house to be kicked out of would be impressive if you were a part of Gen Z. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that someone who thought their life would be completely stable now has to deal with the threat of homelessness when that's not something that they ever prepared for, because it's not something they ever thought that they would prepare for. I know that everyone that's a part of Gen Z right now is worried about their finances, that everyone is, like, trying to make sure that they have enough money to survive. But that's the thing, is that wasn't the thinking in, like, the 60s, 70s, 80s. Like, back in the working years of these older people, like, they weren't thinking about, if everything collapses and I lose my income and the prices of everything skyrocket, am I going to be able to survive? That's something that's on the minds of a lot of young people. And again, not to say that, like, it's not hard for younger people, because it is. But also, you've got to cut the older people some slack, because they didn't understand that things were going to get this bad. And yeah, some of them were greedy. And yeah, some of them came out of it with a lot of money. Some of them came out of it, like, as the richest people that are currently, like, they're hoarding all of the wealth in the older generations. A lot of them, like, you know, they have all the voting power and put things in their favor and whatever. But, like, I do want you to understand that not everyone is your stereotypical rich boomer that got everything for 1 cent, you know? Like, it sucks because I feel like people don't care about the older people, even though no one deserves to be homeless. No one deserves to die on the street. And that goes for anyone of any age. But it's especially hard in this economy if, on top of, you know, the job market being abysmal, you just kind of can't work in the first place because your body isn't built for it anymore. You're not supposed to work when you're 84. Your body kind of can't take a 9-to-5 when you're 84. But for some people, that's like if you can't work a 9-to-5 when you're 84, then you can't afford to keep living in your house. And you need to go through the digital process, which, like, might as well be in a different language to them because they're old enough that they just don't understand. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard to watch. It's so hard to see. And especially, like, if, like, these people are getting to an age where it's like, you've got some memory issues. Like, I can tell you how to do it, but you're gonna forget because you're 84 years old. Like, it's not Goodness, dude. Help me. You suck. Um, like, you're getting to a point where it's like, I can try to teach you and I can try to tell you, but there's only so much that I can do. Because, like, I hate the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because you can, and you can learn very well into your life. Because I think I hate the phrase because it's usually used for, like people that are, like, middle-aged, can't learn anything, or, like, I'm 30, this is the end of my life, type thing. And I hate it when it's used like that, because you absolutely can become a new person, become, like, you absolutely can learn new things when you're, like, especially in your 30s, middle age. Like, I feel like Gen Z has been taught that, like, once you're out of college, your life is over, and that's not true. You can always learn new things, but it does get to the point where you're, like, in your 60s, 70s, 80s, it's just extremely hard to learn new things because your perspective on the world is already very fixed. You've learned how to do a lot of a specific subsection of things, and when things drastically change at that point, it's just really, really hard to keep up with because your brain isn't meant to, like, experience drastic change at that age. You're supposed to, like, you plan to be able to retire at 60, and you worked your job that most likely didn't involve a whole lot of technology up until, like, maybe the very end, but at that point you were in such a senior role that, like, if you didn't want to, you probably could have gotten out of it. And then all of a sudden being told, like, actually, you need to go back to work to be able to survive. The working climate has completely changed since the last time you were working. Again, just think about how out of touch boomers are with, like, the general, like, job hunting environment now, where, like, people's boomer parents are trying to tell them, like, I just give them a firm handshake and you get the job type of thing. It's not, like, a disconnect out of malice. It's a disconnect out of, like, they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Is, like, if they tried to get a job now, if, like, people's boomer parents who, yeah, they've had it made and they got their job, or they got, they made 6 figures and bought their house for 1 cent type of thing, like, if they were thrown into a position suddenly where they had to get a job, that's how they would genuinely attempt it. They're very out of touch. All of them are, because this world that we are currently in is not the world that they grew up in. It's not the world that they think it is. And, like, it's just not. Again, it's like you could say, well, they made it this world. Like, you could be. You could say they made it this way. You could say that, like, it's their fault that the economy is this bad, and you could blame them all you want, but there are still some of them that are genuinely becoming homeless. Like, there are some people that, like, because here's the thing is, most of my coworkers are in their 40s, right? Most of my coworkers are significantly older than me. And most of my coworkers don't really have, like, the time or energy, or, like, I don't want to say they don't care, because they do care, but they're more focused on the job that they have to do, Like, they're more like, I'm not going to spend an hour of my day teaching someone twice my age how to use a computer. I don't have the energy for this. I'm already working this dead-end job and can barely afford to survive myself. I already fill out enough bills as is. I already, like, I can't do this. So whenever I'm working, I'm the one that ends up helping these people. And here's the thing, is if I wasn't working, I'm not sure that person would have gotten helped. I'm not sure that all of those, like, genuinely 3 off the top of my head, people that said, I need to get this done today, or I don't have a house. And, like, more than that I've helped with, like, general situations that aren't as absolutely dire. But if I wasn't working that day, I genuinely don't think that it would have gotten, like, I don't think they would have gotten helped. And I think that they would be homeless. I do. And that sucks to know, you know? Because it's not actually my job. It's only my job because I'm the only one that has, like I'm young enough and, like, care a lot about people that, like, I don't want to dig at my coworkers, but, like, they're kind of like, again, they're kind of like, I'm, like, barely surviving as well as is. Like, I'm not going to, I don't have the energy to help someone with bills that, like, I have another job that I need to accomplish. And, like, our manager's gonna get mad at me if I don't accomplish it. You have a little more slack because you're a kid, you know? It sucks. It sucks. It does. It really does. I can't, I don't want to surrender right now. I'm gonna have to play a third game then. Because, like, if I wasn't there, these people wouldn't have gotten helped, but I am 18 years old and I have never filled out one of these forms for myself. I've only filled them out for other people. Dude, I'm not disabled, but I have filled out several disability forms because people need help. Because people that are filling out the disability forms are disabled. Hot take. Like, I mean, like, that, obviously that's not something that should come as a surprise, but, like, I'm gonna die again. Like, it's hard to fill out these forms, even for someone like me that's at, like, I don't want to say, like, peak, like, sharpness, because I think that happens in your 20s or 30s, but, like, someone like me that's very, like, apt at learning, someone like me that, like, is, I think I'm pretty good at, like, looking at something and sort of figuring out how I'm supposed to do it, what I'm supposed to do, like, trying to just sort of figure out how things work. I think I'm pretty good at that. I'm not doing well in this game. I don't care. Like, I think that I'm pretty good at, figuring things out. And the fact that I'm even having trouble with it, the fact that, like, these things are intentionally very convoluted and, like, hard for you to get any sort of, like, benefits, because the government makes it that way, so that, like, people that don't actually need them don't bother to go through the whole process. But the thing is that, like, a lot of the people that need to go through the process can't work. And if you think about it, if they can't work, it would probably also be hard for them to fill out a really long form. You know what I'm saying? Is, like, if they're disabled, I mean, sure, sometimes it's just a physical disability, and sometimes, like, that's like, not as, that still makes it harder to live in the world, obviously, but it doesn't make it any harder to fill out a form. But, like, sometimes it's a mental disability, and that makes it extremely hard to fill out a form. And yeah, sometimes you've got people that, like, people around you that can help, but sometimes you don't. You know? Like, if you are elderly and having a really hard time using the internet because it's not something you ever properly learned how to do, and all of a sudden you need to fill out this really important form because your house is going to get repossessed and you are going to be homeless and that will kill you. Like, I feel like that's not something that should just be thrown at someone without any kind of, like, support system. Without any, like, hey, if you need help, call this number. If you need help, go to this place, go to this government agency that will help you fill out this form because we sent out the form, we know how it works, you know? Instead, it has to be some 18-year-old at Staples that doesn't really know what she's doing and is praying to God that she gets everything right so that this person doesn't actually die. Like, this is, like, an absurd situation to be in. Like, I don't, like, I just, like, I feel like this is just a stupid, like, this is so preventable, but I feel like it doesn't want to be prevented, because the more that, like, if you had that sort of, like, support system, if you had that sort of, like, I don't know, if you had to pay people to be, you know, like, if you had to pay people to be that person to answer the questions so that these people don't become homeless, if you had to be, like, that's another, like, government agency that you've got to fund if you needed to, like, and then now you've got to pay out all that extra money. Like, not only do you have to pay the people to deal with it, but now you've got to pay the extra money to the people that can't work, and I think they just don't want to do that. because they don't want to pay the money, because the United States is like, the government is just all based off money instead of like humanity, which drives me up a wall because the economy isn't even good. Like, because sure, the economy's like okay on paper, but things are still going down and the average person can't afford to live. Sure, the like richest billionaires in the world live in the United States, but when the other like 99% are struggling, I feel like that's just, everything sucks. I hate it here. I hate it here. Like, I genuinely don't even... Like, it's just the fact that, like, there are no government agencies because they probably don't want to pay the government agencies. They don't want to pay to have, like, a person answer those questions. They don't feel like it. Or maybe if there is, they don't want to pay for the advertising so that people know that it actually exists, or they don't... Like, I feel like it's not even paying to have it, like, at the top of a paper. If it's a paper you have to fill out, and it's something that's potentially confusing and potentially life-changing, life-ending, that someone could die because they are homeless at 80 years old, I feel like you should just put, like, a phone number at the top. Maybe, just a thought. Just, like, a phone number, or, like, a, hey, come to this address, come to this building. That doesn't cost anything to put that there. It costs money to actually make the building, which makes me think that it doesn't exist. Because if it existed, it would be on that paper. And I didn't see one. You know? I don't know, I'm like at a loss. Like, this feels so simple to me as someone that cares about people, but I know that our government is run by people that don't care about people, they just pretend to, because if you're in the government, you necessarily have a lot of money, and if you have a lot of money, if you have enough money to run for president, if you have been in the government, which is like a corrupt system for like your entire life, you just like are necessarily corrupt. This is how it works. I don't know, I hate saying that people are bad because I don't think that anyone's bad. It just... Or, I try not to think that people are bad. I really, really try to give people the benefit of the doubt as much as I possibly can. And, like, argue that people are good as much as I can, because I think that most... Like, the vast, vast, vast majority of people want to be good and try to be good. But, like... I just... Like... I don't know, at a certain point, it's just like, I can't, if you cared about these people, if you cared about the elderly people in the United States, you would make some kind of, like, agency to tell them how not to be homeless if they run into that, you know? Because you can see their age, you're repossessing their home, you know how old they are. Like... I feel like this is just stupid. I really do. Like, I can't justify this one. I try to usually, like, whenever I think of, like, any sort of issue, I try to see it from both sides, and I try to say, okay, well, I fundamentally really disagree with this, but I guess I understand where people are coming from. Like, I personally advocate for at least a universal basic income, so that every person, regardless if they're working or not, gets a certain amount of money to survive, because we are at a point in society where, like, robots can do most of the work, and that is possible, in my opinion. That's something that I advocate for, but I know that that's not something that everyone advocates for, because a universal basic income would mean that, like, I don't know, more money, like, the government has to pay out more money, and people say that, like, I don't know, it would mess up, like, inflation and whatever. Like, it's something that I just fundamentally feel like should happen, but there are people that say, oh, well, according to this, and this math, it's not going to work. And, like, that's the thing, is I think that they're also coming from a good place. They're coming from a place where they feel like the government shouldn't fail, because it would be worse if the government completely failed than, like, what we've got going on now. Okay, sure. Like, I can take people disagreeing with me, and I can try to see most arguments from both sides. That's something that I honestly pride myself on, is that I'm pretty good at that. But, like, it gets to a certain point where there are some arguments where I just can't see both sides. I do not understand why this isn't something that exists. Like, I don't understand why there isn't a specific, like, government agency to help you fill out these forms so that you don't become homeless. Because if you cared about people, you would do that. But the answer is you don't care about people, you care about money. And if you're helping them not be homeless, then like that inherently takes a little bit of money. And if they were becoming homeless in the first place, that means they don't have a lot of money. So why would you help someone that doesn't have a lot of money, you know? Because it's the United States. Like, it just sucks. It really does. It really, really does. Because, I don't know. You've just, like, and I feel like I don't even see, like, I don't see all of the younger people that it's happening to because they don't come to Staples for it, because they'll look it up. Because I know this is happening to a lot of people. It's just, like, the people that have the hardest time filling it out, that are coming to anyone for help, that are saying, like, please, my house is going to get repossessed. Staples is the only place that I could think of. Like, those are the people where it's like, and there are so many of them. Again, I work part-time. Most of the time, less than 20 hours a week, because that's all I get scheduled for. And this is not inherently my job. It is a job that I am covering for someone else. Like, it is... And, like, the fact that, like... I have still seen it happen so many times. This is happening to so many people because when the economy is bad, it affects the young people because they, like, necessarily don't have any savings, because it wasn't possible for me to have been saving from the age of 3 because, like, I can only, like, you know, I'm not old enough to work until a certain point. But, like, so it is hard on young people. I know, I understand that, but, like, I just, like, when the economy is bad, it's hard on everyone. It's hard on every, like, marginalized group, including, like, and it's hard on, like, everyone that isn't just, like, an able-bodied straight white man. It's hard on everyone. And even for them, I have seen so many videos of people that are just, like, men in their 20s, just, like, normal, just, like, able-bodied men that can't get jobs, you know? And at that point, who is the system for? The system is just for people with old money. The system is just for people that have had, like... It's just for, like... It's just for people that already have money. The American dream is no longer possible, in my opinion. Like, I can't... When there's this much suffering in the world and so many people, when there's this much suffering in, like, not even the world, but, like, specifically in this country, and, like, I can't, and the presidents that we have, oh my goodness, I'm recording this in 2024, right, and, this is, like, you know, a few months before the Biden v. Trump Part 2 election, and, like, I can't even, like... both options suck so bad. Like, I so honestly just hate being here. Like, I just hate being here. I don't see it going anywhere good anytime soon. I don't think it's gonna get better unless there's radical change. And, like, I don't even... But I feel like the system's so fundamentally flawed that even if there was radical change, someone would find a way to get around it. That, like... Whatever. Things are... We're at basically an hour, so I'm just gonna cut it there. But, like, I just... Ugh! I hate that people are just, like... That it's possible for someone to just be left out on the street to die, basically. Like, the fact that it's possible for... The fact that it's possible for people that are, like, way past their working years, that are at a point where their body doesn't let them work a 9-to-5 anymore. Doesn't, like... They're not capable of that. Or people that are disabled. Or just any person that can't work has to fill out convoluted, horrible forms that I cannot understand, and I consider myself a very smart person and a person that just generally can figure things out pretty well. Like, I usually don't have a hard time just kind of figuring it out. I can't figure those out. It's hard. It's really hard. It's really difficult. It's really, like... and the fact that you're asking, like, elderly people that barely know how to use a phone in the first place, that, like... that are so removed from the internet, they don't know how to use the internet. You're asking them to use the internet to fill out these complicated forms that even someone that does know how to use the internet really well can't fill out, and you're not providing them with any resources to help. And if they can't fill it out, or they fill it out wrong, or too much time passes, they actually just become homeless. And then they have to try to get a job at 80-something years, 70-something years old, 80-something years old. Like, it's mind-boggling that exists and that just hasn't changed yet. That's just... And it's getting worse. It's not getting better. That as we progress as a society with everything, with, like, AI, and I've made a whole video on AI and how I hate it so much, but, like, even with all of this AI, all of this technology, all of this ability to... For things to just, like... You don't need every single person to be working because a lot of it can be automated. Even with all of that, it's still... You're still evicting 80-year-olds. You're still evicting 80-year-olds from their houses after their spouse has died because they don't have enough money. I'm at a loss. I'm actually at a loss. I'm, like, maxing out my mic. I can't... How do you live with yourself? The answer is that you're just not, like, aware of it. That's gotta be the answer. Is that, like, a lot of people think about how it's hard for the younger person, but at least you're a able-bodied 20-something for the most part. Like, you know, like, it's hard for those people, but, like, at least you've got your youth, and at least you've got, you know, your friends and your fun and whatever. And I would hate... If you are a disabled person as a part of Gen Z, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because everything is rigged against you. Like, it's... I'm at a loss. That, like, this is where I live. That this is what I'm doing. This is where I am. This is said to be the greatest nation in the world. That you can't care for your elderly people. That you can't, like, put any sort of regulations in place to help people not be homeless. And to, like... just the fact that that's where we're at. I can't... I'm genuinely at a loss. I am. Because it would be so easy to just cough up a little bit of federal funding to, like, federal spending, federal funding, whatever. A little bit of money to have someone to just be, like, on the phone to help this person out. I swear it wouldn't be that hard. Like, I don't know what... I can't do anything about it. I'm 18 years old. I'm a kid, dude. I mean, I'm technically an adult now, but I'm 18 years old. I'm a teenager, dude. I'm a teenager working my part-time entry-level job, and these are the things that I see firsthand. These are, like, I mean, I guess not firsthand, it's secondhand. Like, I'm not the one going through it, but, like... what? I can't, like, live like this. I just needed to put it out there. And I know that all of 3 people are going to see this, and all of 0 are going to watch it the whole way through. But I still need to just put it out there. It feels like a moral requirement to just say, like, elderly people are getting evicted from their homes. It's not just the younger generation that's struggling. It's actually everyone. And everything is rigged against everyone. I don't know what metric you're basing it off of. Like, I don't know what metric the economy is based off, because that's not well for anyone. That's not doing good for anyone. That's not helping anyone. Anyway, Anyway, that's just my opinion. That's what I have seen. Like, as always, a disclaimer for, like, I am basing everything off of just my personal experiences and of things that I have seen in real life or things that I've experienced in real life. This one is just something that I've seen. But I just needed to talk about that because it happened again the other day. And it just happened so many times. It's appalling, and I can't just let it happen and not talk about it. So, anyways, that's the end of that video. Yeah. Okay. See you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.